work session.
Yeah.
Just get one.
I don't know. I'm still suspicious. Yeah. This one is really, every time I see something, it's like it's started as 2 minutes. Carl and Dave. Yeah, I said, none of the people saying, none of these people saying great. Just don't get it. Yeah, and he's only taking the places. She said, no, I want to work in the town. I didn't get a little bit. So there's been a few, you know, there's not flags. Lindsay sent me she was kind of
All right, I'd like to call the board meeting to order at 7:04. If you'll rise and stand for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. All right, thank you. And Trustee Wilson is absent from our meeting tonight, as well as Supervisor Stumbo, who assures safe travels. And first on our agenda is we have public comments. Public comments are 3 minutes each, and you can also speak on each agenda item. Mrs. Kaiser.
My name is Arloa Kaiser, live at 1421 Melvin Street, and I want to tell you how our community grows. I was walking along Grove Road, and there was a house that had this sign that their grass was too high, and there was a lady with a weed whip, and she was taking care of it, and I asked her if she lived there, and she said no, it was a rental home, and that she lived across the street, so she was taking care of it. So thanks to the community. And then there's another couple who go along Grove Road with a plastic bag and pick up trash. And then for something fun, I don't know if any one of you has ever been flocked. There was a house on Grove Road that had 24 2-foot-high flamingos. Someone had put it in there in their sign. It said, "You have been flocked." It was there for 2 days, but it was something funny to uplift the community. And thank you for all the good work you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Kaiser. Any other public comments? If you could just state your name.
Sure. My name is Edward Kudlow, and I live at 120 Valley Drive in Ypsilanti Township. And I want to speak on the subject of license plate readers and well, I have a question and a comment about license plate readers. One is, how long does that information stay in the database? That's the question. And the comment is, there's a short video, if anybody has the New York Times online, there's a short video in the New York Times today about surveillance in China and how they have facial recognition. I think that facial recognition is just a step down the slippery slope from license plate readers that can in real time, look at millions of faces and give the name and the address and the ID number, for us it'd be a social security number, I guess, of people on the street with fixed cameras, not unlike the license plate readers. And I think it's just a really terrible idea for our civil rights, and it's, I don't know what else to say on the subject. I don't have prepared comments, but it's just a terrible idea for our people. Is what the amount of good that it would do is far outweighed by the what it would do to our civil rights in our area, especially when you look at the map and see what parts of town have the most license plate readers. It's pretty evident who's going to be looked at. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Cutler. If you'd like to provide Deputy Stanfield with your email address, I would be happy to follow up about the information of how long the information is kept.
And can I say, I don't know if I'm at 3 minutes yet, but another question is it a done deal that we're going to have them?
Tonight was just a discussion.
Just a discussion, not a done deal. Can I ask
And-
when a decision will be made?
We're still engaging with our community, so, but again, if you'd like to provide your email to Lisa down
Sure.
here, I'd be happy to follow up with you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Regina Kudla. I live at 120 Valley Drive. I had some questions about the license plate readers also. I understand that the flat cameras cost $2,500 per camera. Is that for the year? And is that for the whole cost of them, the maintenance and the recordings and everything? And how many cameras were we going to employ? 30 cameras? Because it looked like on the map, so the map provided on the website, where each of the red dots where cameras are proposed to be placed, because there is a lot more than 30 sites on that map.
Sure, Treasurer Eldridge, if you'd like to respond, you're welcome.
If you want to stick around for a few minutes this evening, I'll come out and meet with you and go over all the information. We just had about 30 minutes worth in the work session, but I can certainly come
Okay.
out in just a
We
few
didn't
minutes.
know if we could attend the work session.
Oh, absolutely.
Can the public attend the work session?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, and then, will residents be notified of where the cameras are located? Will the residents have input as to where the cameras are located?
Yeah, so any of those decisions, they will definitely be brought back to this board, and you're always welcome to attend both our work session and our board meetings. A part of the presentation during the work session was discussing a special meeting that hopefully will be held sometime later this summer to specifically just talk about that issue. Again, we had about 30 minutes to discuss in the work session, and I know that there were other trustees that had other questions about the technology as well.
Right,
So we're learning
because-
alongside you, and
Right.
we'll definitely, keep you informed of when we'll be having those discussions.
Right, because I had, obviously, I wasn't here for but I had concerns about where the data, where the information, where the films are, who owns those, who has access to them? Like, can anybody access those films and obtain evidence, obtain information from those cameras? And, okay, so I saw online that several community residents were talked to about them, but I regularly look out for and attend my neighborhood watch, which hasn't had meetings in a while. So is that the only opportunity for residents to put input or ask questions or give opinions about the cameras?
Yeah, so just to follow up, the Sheriff's Department has held a few community engagement sessions. We have been doing neighborhood watches, but I would also just extend our invitation, Treasurer Eldridge and myself and Supervisor Stembo and all of our board members, anytime you guys want to come into the office and discuss it or share your thoughts or learn more about it, we're happy to have you always.
Okay.
So thank you for your
And-
comment.
And how will the decisions about where the cameras be located made? Are they based on statistics, incident statistics on what the Sheriff Department has experienced and things like that, hot spots or.
So just briefly in the presentation, and again, it's totally okay that you weren't here for the work session, the proposed locations are at the entrance points to the township. So they will not and are not, and I think I can safely speak for our board that we would never single out certain areas or neighborhoods, and that would never be our intention to do so. So in the presentation, you can see those locations.
So are the red dots on the map where cameras are proposed to be placed?
That is correct.
Well, because there's some areas that are very heavily cameraed.
Yeah, we would love to, continue that discussion again after the work or the board meeting if you want to stick around, or always Treasurer Eldridge and myself, we're here all the time. We'd love to have you stop by, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to the agenda. First, we have the consent agenda with the minutes of the May 17th work session and regular meeting, as well as the minutes of the June 8th special meeting, statements and checks, and the treasurer's report. I have a motion Eldridge and support Swanson. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And next, we have our attorney's report. Mr. Winters?
Madam Chair, at the outset, if it's okay, I just want to take a brief moment to at least acknowledge what State Representative Ronnie Peterson yesterday pulled together. I know the board members were in attendance, and where Gloria was doing the driving on the golf cart. But I think that event yesterday at on the Juneteenth at the Highland Cemetery, where they unveiled a monument to honor the 30, I think it was 30 African Americans who died in the Civil War, are buried in the cemetery. I think that was probably one of the most, one of the best programs I've attended in many, many years. And it was just too bad there wasn't a way of somehow having that kind of televised or somehow encapsulated for just the community to see. Because I think the speakers did a tremendous job, and the history that was shared during that very, very sacred ceremony, I think, is one that was very, very lasting, and everybody that was there. And I just really I thought about it a lot today, and just I think I will more so as I continue to go to the Highland Cemetery to see loved ones that have passed on. But I just want to take a moment and just acknowledge what a great community we have that honor those veterans who died fighting in the Civil War, the African Americans on Juneteenth holiday, and it was just a great experience. On the legal update side, I would like to at least point out that, as all of you may have been aware, there were 3 different lawsuits that were filed by a group that was somewhat shadowy in terms of who they really were against the township. Jocelyn Benson, Secretary of State, our clerk, Heather Rowe, Township Board, County Clerk Larry Kassenbaum, regarding the updated zoning ordinance that the township approved earlier this year. They first attempted to challenge where the township had designated to be the locale for marijuana establishments that are now legal in the state of Michigan, and they were going to try and challenge that zoning through a referendum, a zoning designation, a zoning location. They failed to meet the required number of signatures within the specified timeline, and even though they hired people from outside the state of Michigan to do so, what came out of that experience was somewhat similar to some of the candidates for governor who have been all disqualified. They used a service that did not really vet properly the people who were signing the petitions. So the initial lawsuit against the township, where they attempted to challenge the zoning location of the marijuana establishments in the township's newly created IC district, has now been dismissed, and has been dismissed with prejudice. The other 2 lawsuits attempted to force a referendum on whether or not they could actually put on the ballot an initiative to prohibit marijuana township-wide. Just like the first lawsuit that ended in failure to gather the appropriate signatures, so did the other two lawsuits, and one actually was filed here in the Washtenaw County Circuit Court, and that case was dismissed by Judge Conlon after listening to testimony from Clerk Rowe, as well as actually the testimony of the attorney who testified on behalf of a client that we have yet to know who it is. But the long story short, I guess, is that all three lawsuits have been dismissed and the township has prevailed. It's just unfortunate the township has had to expend a great deal of resources and time to defend those, what I believe to be a very frivolous lawsuit from the very beginning. But that is our system that we live under, and sometimes we have to accept the fact that there are going to be frivolous lawsuits filed. And when they are, it's our duty to try and have them dismissed as quickly as possible, which in this case, I believe was accomplished. Another of interest to the board, and I think for many, many years, is what are we going to do, what's going to happen to Galt Village? I don't think there's a day that goes by that if you run into people who live in that area or people outside the area who are very, very familiar with the service drive and the Grove Road, will not bring up what an eyesore and blighted condition that abandoned shopping center is. It's been declared to be a public nuisance. All of the buildings have been vacated. It's in a deteriorating condition. The township attorney, Dennis McLean, had previously filed a motion seeking a demolition order against the owner of the property in June. Judge Archie Brown, who is retiring, is now having all of his cases reassigned to the current circuit court judges. And this motion that was scheduled to be heard in June will now be heard in August before Judge Conkey. In the meantime, you've probably seen a lot of letters where I've been corresponding with representatives of the Washtenaw County Brownfield coordinator, Nathan Vogt, in the Environmental Health Department regarding potential collaboration in the event a demolition order is entered and the owner fails to do so, and the demolition defaults by court order to the township. What type of partnership could we establish with the Washtenaw County as well as with AGO, who is the state agency who oversees all the on-site contamination and cleanup? As you know, AGO was involved in the cleanup of the Forbes dry cleaners, and there was a dry cleaners on Galt Village as well. So tomorrow we're scheduled, I'm not sure how long it's going to last in this heat, because I was out there yesterday in a suit, and I didn't do very well yesterday, but today was pretty brutal. But tomorrow we do have a meeting at 11:30 with county and our state partners in this area, and I really want to at least express my thanks to them. I already have, and I will tomorrow, for them at least reaching out and responding to us to meet us on site so they can get a first-hand feel for what that current shopping center looks like and what maybe some options we could have going forward, what would be a viable action plan, what's a viable pathway, because I'm not dating myself so much. I guess maybe I am. But that was a very, very vibrant shopping center for many, many years over there. Ms. Kaiser remembers that too, and that was a very, very well-stocked, had everything from a dry cleaners to a drugstore to two different grocery stores as well as Kmart. It was the Chinese restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. We had great support from the neighborhoods for that shopping center, and it can be again. But we have to, we just can't continue to allow that to be a blight upon this community. So we'll have more information about the Galt Village. I do know also that myself and RSD Director Mike Hoffmeister will be providing the board a more detailed update on the reopening of Loon Feather Park, and we're hoping that everything's going to fall into place for this coming weekend. A lot of people have been anxiously awaiting the reopening, and myself and Mike was out there yesterday inspecting some things that, again, I probably should not be wearing a suit out there, but at the same time, there was some issues that had to be addressed with the contractor, and Mike is taking the lead on making sure that park is ready to be utilized before the 4th of July gets here, which is only, maybe less than 2 weeks away. So there's a lot going on, but I think those are the highlights of what I wanted to share with the board this evening. And again, I think the Gulf Village is going to be a very, very high priority at some point in time to figure out what we can do for that neighborhood, because each time I go by there, I see abandoned RV, I see the food truck, I see kids running in and out. The ordinance department has got people living there. It's just a matter of time. I mean, the sheriff's department can only do so much. The fire department can't really do much more than what they've done. And so at some point in time, we have to really bring our resources to bear as to what is the best pathway of moving forward vis-a-vis Gulf Village.
Thank you, Attorney Winters. All right, under new business, we have a request to approve the recommendation of the Ypsilanti Township Liquor Commission in regard to application of China Palace LLC. Treasurer Eldridge is on our liquor committee, if you want to speak to that agenda item. Or,
I will.
or do we want to do a motion first?
Motion discussion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do we have a motion?
So move, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Gloria.
Support.
Okay. Thank you. Motion Peterson, support Eldridge. Treasurer Eldridge.
The members of our liquor committee here are Trustee Swanson, Trustee Wilton, and myself. We received an application for a Class C liquor license back in January of this year. And so I'm just going to go off some notes here as we began to look at it in conjunction with our staff, particularly Director Kingsley. So just bear with me as I go through a few things to give you a little bit of background. In 2019, an application for a Class C ownership transfer was made to the township. That investigation was handled by former Director of OCS, Radzik. That was made on September 20th of 19. The review was submitted on November of 19 from Director Radzik. It was in regards to a Class C license, 193373, which was issued at the time to Jingxing Incorporated with a state of Michigan registered assumed name of Asia City. The application was filed with the township. The application that was filed at that time with the township clerk's office had stated that the applicant was China Palace LLC, doing business as Asia City Restaurant. There was no state record of a registered assumed name of Asia City, and the Washtenaw County Clerk's Office had no record of a doing business as for Asia City as listed on the application. The Class C license had been issued to that business on July 29th of 2010 and was set to expire April 30th of 2020. Director Radzik's report at that time revealed that there was an investigation ongoing by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission for a violation that occurred on July 26, 2018 for sale to an underage minor. The submitted application at that time made no mention of that incident. That same Class C liquor license was placed into escrow in 2018, although there was nothing to detail why. The investigation surmised that it was related to that MLCC violation. The licensee later acknowledged to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission responsibility for that violation on November 19th of 2018 and paid a $500 fine. The submitted application to us for the transfer, at the time of the transfer, mentioned that conditional approval from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission had been received. However, at that same time, there was an open investigation going on regarding to this license and to the owner of it, Jing Xing Incorporated, that involved the ownership group also of China Palace LLC. It appears that there were members and others involved that were in common between the two corporate entities in the ongoing management of both. On June 29th of 2018, there was a sale or a transfer in aggregate of more than 10% of the stock of the licensed corporation without the prior approval of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. Also on the 29th of June 2018, it appears that a person or persons whose name or names were not on the license were able to derive a use or a benefit from that license, according to the MLCC. On October 16, 2018, the licensee, per the report from the MLCC, made a false or fraudulent statement to them, specifically regarding a purchase and sales agreement of business assets. In the words of the investigation, in an attempt to induce the MLCC to act, refrain from taking action, or to enable or assist a person in evading the provisions of the Michigan Liquor Control Code. A recommendation was made in that November 19th, 2019 report from Director Radzik that for all the reasons listed above, he was recommending that the Township Liquor Committee investigate further before approving an ownership transfer. If we fast forward now to January 20th of 2022, an application was made to the Charter Township of Ypsilanti by Kashan Wang for a Class C liquor license as a managing member of and on behalf of China Palace LLC. The first thing noted when members of the committee looked through that paperwork was that the previous license that had been held by China Palace was now revoked, and a revocation period for that license was listed from February 1, 2021 until February 1st of 2023. It appears that the business license had been originally suspended by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission while it was in escrow, and when no appeal was filed by June of 2021, the commission moved the license from a suspension and reverted it to a revocation for a 2-year period. As we went on about our work in conjunction with our Community Compliance Director, Belinda Kingsley, we scheduled a meeting in March of 2022 to meet with the applicant and their legal representative. On behalf of the applicant, Mr. Saman, the legal representative, made a presentation of his client, on behalf of his client. In summary, we surmised from that presentation that they were attributing the issues related to the license to previous insufficient and ineffective legal counsel. The committee was advised that all the previous owners who had been involved in those earlier issues were no longer with the current applicant, and therefore the belief was on their end that the applicant should be approved for a new Class C liquor license. At the conclusion of that meeting and over the course of the next several weeks, calls were made to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, and documents were requested, FOIAs were filed on our end, so that we could receive as much information from them to assist us in our trying to clarify what had previously led to that license revocation. In April, the committee was able to speak to a gentleman at the Liquor Control Commission who identified himself only as David and as a manager. He advised that in looking at the previous work of his agency, along with the information contained within the township application, that one of the previous owners would appear now to be a lease owner of the property where the China Palace is located and where the license would be issued to, which in turn gave him a cause for concern that one of those people who had been involved in the earlier incidents would now still be able to derive a benefit from the use of that license despite not being listed on the license application. We later, again in April, spoke to Mr. Saman, his client. They were still awaiting information, as we were, on a number of things, including an earlier denial of an SDM, which I think now has subsequently been approved and then received. In early May, the committee spoke to the FOIA coordinator at the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, a young lady by the name of Kelly Hunt. She did provide additional information that was shared amongst the committee members. And she also indicated she would have concerns for the same reasons as earlier noted, although she indicated, as everybody at the MLCC did, they could not speak on behalf of the MLCC appointees who make up the State Liquor Control Commission. They just found it unusual that this case would be coming back before them. I could go on, but many of these reasons that we've listed have given us cause as a committee to reissue a license at this time. The revocation period ends in roughly 6.5 months. At that time, the applicant could reapply, and they also have the ability to, if they so choose, to go to the escrow route and try to receive a license in that manner. But at this time, we just had too many concerns. The information was differing too much for us, and the original basis on the LCC's report of not being forthcoming in one of their investigations and appearing to try and sidestep the due process of what they were required to do has led us to make a recommendation that we do not issue a Class C license at this time. If I've missed anything, Trustee Swanson, please let me know.
All right, board members, do you have any comments?
So I do.
Trustee Peterson?
Thank you. So, Stan, I hear you guys' decision. My question is, so you're telling me they can come back in 6 months to apply? Did you say 6 months?
Well, their revocation period will end February 1 of 2023.
23, okay.
The only way currently that they can go back before the MLCC until that date is if the local municipality approves them a license at this level. And again, speaking for one, but I think speaking for three, we all had the same conclusion that we just weren't comfortable doing that based on what we know at this time.
Understood, thank you.
All right, any other board member comments or questions? I do know that the applicant is here. You're welcome to speak at public comment. I would just ask that you state your name for the record and direct your comments to the chair, please. And just acknowledging that this is not intended to be an exchange.
I understand.
Thank you.
I understand. Just by way of clarification.
I'm sorry, Mr. Samam. Is your mic on? Is it green? Okay, perfect. Thank you. I couldn't see it from here.
No problem.
I appreciate you.
Just by way of clarification, I've discussed this issue and this matter with Treasurer Eldridge at length. In fact, I provided some of the information that I received from FOIA when they were having a hard time receiving it. The revocation involved in this case did not apply to China Palace or the applicants in this case. The license that was revoked belonged to the seller, which is Zhang Sheng, who also owns the property. So yes, they have an interest in the property, but they have no interest in the business. Anytime any application is made to Lansing, one of the questions that's asked and investigated is whether it's a loan. Does the person lending the money to the entity that's applying have an interest in the license? Yes, no. Same thing with the landlord. It was investigated by, I think, Scott Saul from MLCC. And in his report, he stated that there's only a lease between the parties. There's no ownership interest on behalf of Zhang Sheng. Zhang Sheng is the entity that purchased the property and established those businesses and was running a licensed business for a while. My client, Mr. China Palace, and Mr. Wang, is Chen Sheng Wang, he purchased the business from his aging father and his uncles. His uncles have since moved out of the area. His father still lives here. He runs and operates. They bought it. They retained the services of an attorney, a Chinese-speaking attorney. And unfortunately, and I don't like to speak bad about any attorneys, he dropped the ball on this. Not only did he not follow through with the license, when there was a period to appeal, he didn't appeal. He didn't notify the clients that that it was denied and there's an appeal process. When they were referred to me, they came, I checked with Lansing, sent a letter. I was told by Ms. Hunt, who is in the appeals unit, she says, Mrs. Saman, the license has been revoked. I says, whose license has been revoked? The license that was held by the seller, Zhang Sheng. Now, at the time that we applied for a Class C license for China Palace, we also applied for an SDM license for New Hoxing Asia Market, which is the market that's right next door. The property is owned by the same landlord that owns China Palace. An investigation was held by MLCC. They investigated everything, including the fact that the landlord has no interest in this entity. And they approved the license, the SDM license, to the applicant, which is New Hoxing Asia Market, LLC, which has the same two members that are in China Palace. So the whole issue that we keep going around with here is, well, it's not going the MLCC is not going to approve because of the issues that happened before. Well, guess what? They approved the license. They approved it for New Hoxing Asia Market, which has the same two members, has the same landlord. So in going back and forth with the committee, chaired by, I think, Mr. Eldridge, I secured a letter from Stephanie Wright. She is from the licensing department of MLCC. And the question I posed to her was, is there anything preventing China Palace LLC, the applicant, from securing a liquor license from the MLCC? And she sent the letter, and I think I forwarded it to the committee. It said, absolutely not. The revocation and the violations involved the selling entity, Zhang Sheng, not China Palace. Now, there's many instances where somebody ends up with a problem, and they ended up selling the license than to keep going with it. In this case, my clients have operated the business without a license because by the fact that the attorney did not follow through with the application and did not clear up many of these problems that could have been easily cleared up, that any attorney that does any liquor control work would have been able to clear up. My clients would not have lost, the seller nor my clients would not have lost 3 licenses. The SDD license, as we all know, difficult to come by, is worth anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 to secure one, and you can't get one. They're difficult. Luckily, the Class C was available through the township, and so we applied. And this information we received from MLCC. The township has available licenses. Fill your application. They sent us a letter saying the only thing we're waiting for is approval by Ypsilanti Township. And that's what we're looking for. So there's nothing involving my clients in their application. And there's nothing that would prevent Lansing from issuing a license to China Palace because it issued one to New Hoxing Asia Market, which is the market right next door. Same party, same people involved in it. So if in fact we believe that Lansing may not, well then let's leave it up to Lansing to say yes or no.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Swam. We appreciate that. Board members, we have a motion and support before us. Are there any other? Board?
I see you're getting ready to take a vote on it, right?
Yeah, Trustee Peterson?
I have to say this, Madam Chair, what would it be if we would hold off on this, what do you call it?
Table.
If we would table this. And I'm going to say because of the fact, and I don't know if it will harm them, they can still have a timeline to come back, and I take this down, but you can't hear me. A timeline to come back or not, because you said 6 months or something, Stan?
Roughly 7 months left.
6 or 7 months. Will they have a time to come back if we table it until we get more information? My issue, well, not my issue, but what I would like to know, if indeed the liquor license said, you know, it's a whole separate license, my issue is the one lady, and tell me her name, sir, Shane, she owns the grocery store, I guess, next door.
The New Asia Market.
New Asia
Hoxing
Market
Asian
and this restaurant.
Yes.
She's still on the lease.
They were both, there's two
I
separate
understand
leases.
that they're on the lease.
Yes.
Is she still a business partner? Is she still a business partner to that
You're
restaurant?
saying a lady. Which lady are we talking about?
Shane Ling?
Sheng Ling is a corporation.
What is it?
Zhang Sheng.
Treasurer Eldridge.
One of the previous owners, I believe, is the current applicant's father.
Yes.
Right.
They own the land. They own the business which they established in 205 and 210.
Right?
Two
And
businesses. They
Lost the
sold.
license.
Yeah, they sold the businesses to their son. They're no longer involved in the business. They own the property.
Do we
They
have
lease.
do we have proof that they're no longer in the business?
They have leases.
They-
Treasurer
Absolutely.
Eldridge, did the liquor
Did
committee?
they send you a copy of that lease? That they're no longer in the business with them?
Well, they, Trustee Swanson, I'm sorry, Peterson, the previous owners are not listed on the current application. It is, in fact, new ownership on the
So
application.
their name is not on there at all?
They're on
So they're just
the,
leasing the building?
they're leasing the building, and that's what's giving the state, at least in our discussions, pause for concern, because there could still be a derived benefit from the use because of the relationship of the parties involved.
Well, I'm sorry, Treasurer, you're saying that they are pausing for concern, but is the attorney said there is no concern? It looked like you're saying
Well,
two different
we,
things. I just want to make that clear.
I think we've talked to different, I think we've all talked to the same and different people.
Gotcha. So,
The young lady who sent the email that indicated that they had been approved for the SDM, Ms. Wright, is not as high on the authority chain
I got you.
as Ms. Hunt, who is one of her supervisors. And then the other gentleman I spoke to, I don't recall his name without looking, but,
Treasurer, you don't have to say anymore. I got your point.
okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, so as I understand it before us, we have our recommendation from our liquor committee that's 3 members, but Trustee Peterson, did that clear up your question, or are you still interested in?
I am clear. Thank you for the information.
Okay, and Attorney Winters, do you have any comments?
I guess only, I've not been involved in the meetings of the committee. I guess I would just point out to the board that if in fact there has been some legal malpractice, which I guess is what I'm hearing has occurred here. I know there's obviously some recourse there. The other question I would have is, we only have X number of liquor licenses that we have available to award. And at some point in time, if one is granted, the question also is what happens to the one that's currently being held in abeyance under some type of revocation order. Once that revocation time period expires, who is going to get that license? Does it go back to the person from whom it was revoked? Or so the township could end up actually losing, I guess, 2 licenses, it sounds like. I don't know if I'm doing the math correctly. It just seems like right now there's a lot of unknowns in regards to applying for a brand new license while there's one that's still in some kind of revocation land. And then there's the issue about an attorney who was supposed to be skilled in doing what he was retained to do, he or she was retained to do, who may not have done his or her job. So in some ways, it seems like that it's going to maybe victimized. At the same time, the board has a responsibility to make sure that those licenses are going to be awarded with very judicious due diligence, which I think the committee obviously has done.
May I just one response? With respect to the revocated license, that's gone. It's history. It was put in and it's no longer, it doesn't come back. If it's suspended, yes. Once it's revoked, it's done. There's no license exists for Zhang Sheng LLC. It's done. It goes back into the rotation and somebody else has got it. It has nothing to do with it. It doesn't come back. Once it's revoked, it's gone.
It goes somewhere, I assume.
But it's somebody else has got it. They put it
Thank
back
you,
into
Mr.
the pool.
Simon. Thank you. Trustee Swanson?
Well, I just wanted to clarify that the committee did try to find out what would happen with that, since that is one that's lost to your client, but it's also lost to the township, and what would happen. We haven't gotten a firm response on what would happen with the one that's been revoked, whether it comes back to the township and is included in their count, because for the audience, we only have a certain number of liquor licenses based on certain conditions that are in our community. So it hasn't, we've asked the question, but it hasn't been clarified. So it's true that it is gone at this point. The question for the township is, will that revoked license return back to us, or is it just revoked and gone, period, from our community? We're still working on that.
Thank you for that clarification, Trustee Swanson. Hearing no other comments, we have a motion and support before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, yes, just to clarify, so our motion is to approve the recommendation of the Ypsilanti Township Liquor Commission in regard to the application of China Palace LLC. And in the board packet, it's based upon the information presented and learned during the application process. The Township Liquor Committee at this time does not recommend approval of the application of China Palace LLC for a Class C liquor license to the Board of Trustees. That is formally before this board.
That is formally for the board that they do not approve, and the township does not, and we're voting
That is,
to follow their recommendation.
that is correct. That's the motion and support. Are there any further comments or questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have a request to approve a contract with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office to facilitate collaborative sharing of a school resource officer from June 20th, 2022 to August 26th, 2022 in the amount of $30,416.93, budget in line item 266-301-831-008. A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Peterson. A memo was prepared by Supervisor Stumbo for this agenda item. For the past 13 years, Ypsilanti Township has collaborated with school districts to utilize officers during the summer. I know that Lieutenant Pelletier is here. I didn't know if, Shane, if you wanted to just briefly talk about the program.
The school resource officer for Lincoln Schools every summer has come back to the township and worked in collaboration with the juvenile resource deputy. It's currently Deputy Gwines, who's a senior member at the sheriff's office. He will come back. He will work Monday through Friday, a day shift schedule. And again, he'll basically be working hand in hand with Deputy Russell in support of calls for service related to juveniles, kids throughout the different school districts that reside within Ypsilanti Township, and he'll also be responding to other calls for service that are necessary.
All right, thank you so much, Shane, for that explanation. We have a motion and support on the table. Any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next on our agenda, we have a request to accept the resignation of Brad O'Connor from the Park Commission and to appoint Edward Burnett to the open seat.
Support.
Support Swanson motion Swanson, support Eldridge. In the packet, you'll also find a memo regarding this item from the 3 full-time elected officials. Brad O'Connor is moving out of state, and we thank him so much for his service. So we'd like to formally accept his resignation, and many of you know Mr. Edward Burnett. He's served on our Park Commission before and expressed interest in continuing this term that will end in November 2024. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is motion or request approval for the agreement for establishment of a new branch to a county drain for a rain garden located at 2020 Packard Road. There are several other agenda items that look similar to this, just in different locations. And I know that Mike Hoffmeister is here tonight to discuss, and a motion would be in order.
So move.
Support.
Motion Peterson, support Eldridge. And Mike, would you like to just share a little bit about this?
Sure. Mike Hoffmeister, Residential Services Director. As you may or may not know, we partner with Washtenaw County to assist the township in maintaining county drains throughout the township. Included in county drains are rain gardens. The Water Resources Department and Drain Commission have rain garden staff that help us maintain the rain gardens to their expectation and best practice and standard, which helps us greatly. So the next 4 board agenda items are related to new rain gardens at Faithway Baptist Church, Harris Road. Along Harris Road, there's 7 rain gardens. Loon Feather Point Park, as part of their renovation project, had 1 installed. And then, as you know, the skate park at the Community Center Park also had 1 installed. And these 4 agenda items will assist in us maintaining those through the county.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments or questions? Trustee Swanson?
When it says establish a new branch, can you just help me with what that means?
Yeah, so the township is, my understanding is that the township is broken up into different branches that are numbered by the county.
Okay.
And then these new agreements are roped into those branch numbers.
So it's only about the rain garden, not about
The
creating
entire
some
branch,
other
correct.
kind of
They're bringing
branch.
they're bringing what is proposed as the rain garden into the existing branch of the
Okay.
drain system.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Mike, and great question, Debbie. Any other comments or questions? Hearing,
So one other thing I know, so it really is just about the rain garden. It's not about disturbing things, digging things other than what it would be for the planting, because I'm concerned about just the work with vermin. And there's already a lot of digging that's been going on, and I know there are a lot of concerns about vermin. So I just want to make sure this isn't going to do anything that's going to increase some of the existing problems that we have as an unintended consequence, even though I know rain gardens are fabulous and this is near the lake and all that. I just want to make sure we're not going to exacerbate something that we already know is a problem, and I know that the Drain Commissioner's already been working on that with us.
Right, yep. Yeah, and my understanding also is 3 of the 4 agenda items here, those rain gardens already exist.
Okay.
The only one to be built is the one at 2020 Packard or the Faithway Baptist Church. That's being funded by grant dollars that was secured by the county.
Okay.
And that is on the west side of town on Packard. So that's a bit away from where we're dealing with the abatement issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request to approval for the agreement of establishment of a new branch for a county drain for 7 rain gardens located in Harris Road.
So moved.
I have a support, or a motion. Can I have a support?
Support.
Thank you. Motion Peterson, support Eldridge. Again, this is another one of those rain garden items. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Request approval for the agreement of the establishment of a new branch to a county drain for a rain garden located at Loon Feather Park.
So moved.
Motion Peterson? Support Swanson. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Request to approval for agreement of establishment of a new branch for a county drain for a rain garden located at Community Center Park.
So moved.
Motion Peterson?
Support?
Support Newman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, request approval for the agreement with Looking Good Lawns LLC for highway and street trash cleanup and abatement services not to exceed $8,750 per month budgeted in line item 266-301-830-004.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support.
support Peterson. All right, and Michael, I know this is another one of your agenda items. Would you like to briefly go over it?
Sure. Looking Good Lawns is the landscaping company that we utilize to help assist residential services and ordinance with a number of mowing vacant lots. They help us mow a lot of our right-of-way areas. They help us with a number of areas that our township owns where we might not be able to get our parks and ground staff. They also assist Director Kingsley in their grass NOVs and other items like that. Looking Good has been helping with trash cleanup for a number of years. There's just not been a formal agreement. As you know, it's worse in the spring when the snow melts and we get into spring. And then this does allow the township to pay Looking Good for no more than 23 hours of work per month for trash cleanup. And then that's also a huge help because, again, we don't have the staffing capacity or the bandwidth to complete that with our current resources. So this will be a great help to the township. And then this does get us through the end of this year. And then we'll reevaluate our entire package that we have with Looking Good through the bidding process potentially at the end of this year.
All right,
Yep.
Trustee Swanson.
So I read that the trash they collect is taken to the compost center. Can you just tell us a little bit about how then it gets picked up from waste? Does it get picked up by waste
That's correct.
management?
Yep.
Right from the compost center?
It does. So it goes from the Looking Good vehicles to our compost center into the dumpsters at the compost center. And then waste management through our contract with waste management gets collected by them at the compost center.
Madam Chair,
Trustee Peterson.
Mike, I don't know if I've ever seen this company out there picking up trash. I believe your word, though. How long have they been with us doing pickup?
I think it began in 2021.
21.
Yeah.
Well,
Just last year.
I would just hope that the new area that we have developed, the township, going out on 94, you see a lot of trash out there, Doc. I mean, if I had the good legs, I would go out there and try to pick it up. But not even that area. When you come around the textile, behind Kroger's, unreal. In other areas, and I had talked to Brenda about that, and my understanding that some of those roads are county cut grass roads where they don't pick up a dang on thing, okay? So I just, and you're telling me how long would this contract be with this company?
Just through the remainder of this
This
calendar
summer.
year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, give them a chance, I say, because we need it. And I really hope, they're a great company to do their job, because it's just awesome. So I thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. And I just would like to acknowledge, we do have a really dedicated couple of residents within our community. Martina Stevenson is one in particular. I think she has single-handedly picked up, I don't know, she could run circles around me with that, but she's done a great job. And, it's everyone's job in our community to just, not litter and make sure that we're doing the right thing. And I know that Looking Good's done a great job with our other lawns that they've done, and Mike's, had a great time working with them. Do you want to point out that this is not an auto renewal contract, Attorney Winters? All right, any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have a request of an authorization to build approximately 800 feet of concrete sidewalk along State Street between DeSoto Ave and Glen Grove Ave as a part of an existing improvement project being done by Yucca in the amount of $134,000, budgeted line item 101-446-982000, contingent upon approval of the budget amendment and attorney approval of the agreement.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge?
Support.
Support Newman? Thank you. All right, I have a motion and support. Mike, would you like to discuss this?
Sure. Yucca identified State Street as a capital improvement plan for a pump and a force main between DeSoto and Glen Grove. Throughout the bid process, which they did go through the bidding process, it was requested by Yucca to the township if we would like to have a sidewalk designed going into the bid process as part of the bid package. Then they would come back to us when the bids were open, and then come back to us again when it was time to make a decision on whether or not we want to indeed build a sidewalk in that location. The ground will already be disturbed due to the construction, and there is a gap of sidewalk between DeSoto and Glen Grove. There is a trail that runs south to Glen Grove and then terminates, and then there's a sidewalk and trail that connects Glen Grove out to a northwest trail. So this is a good connection for a sidewalk. It comes to us for a decision on whether or not we want to participate. Thank you for the map in improving the sidewalk to go in.
All right, we have a motion and support. I would just like to kind of piggyback off of what Mike said there is that the other night on the way to the Neighborhood Watch meeting in West Willow, I intentionally drove down this street to just kind of see, the space. I knew what space we were talking about. I've been down there before, and I'm telling you, it couldn't have been timed better because there were about 6 younger kids just walking in the middle of the street, and they've already started a bit of this project, so there's some disruption there. And then again, on the way home, I drove that route as well, and there were still a few more folks utilizing that walkway. This is also a part of our non-motorized plan, which is a few maps down in our thing. And so I know that it is a bit unusual of how the project has come about. And of course, we'd want our attorney to be comfortable with, how that exchange happens. But it does seem like a space of sidewalk that wouldn't, be done otherwise, if not with this project. Any board comments or questions?
Nope. Nope.
Trustee Swanson?
I guess every time I see digging like this, it makes me
Nervous.
wonder what we should be putting in when we're disturbing, such as, they bury fiber optic and all this kind of stuff. Even if you're not going to put something in there, there are ways to lay it so that it can eventually be fed through. And so I would be interested in at least somebody looking at what would be that extra cost, even if it's just getting that, because it's a pretty good space in an area that I don't know what fiber's like over there. Even just thinking long-term, I'd be interested in knowing if that's possible, because we're digging all the time. We just dug all that, and if we're already digging, I don't think it's going to be that much different. Let's just get it in there as infrastructure, even if it's not fiber in, at least the path for fiber's there. So I would like to have that as considered.
Trustee Swanson, just to respond, I know that this project, again, is a little bit underway, and I fully agree with your sentiment of if you're already doing it, less disruption, less possibility of disrupting the vermin that we've had problems with too. It always makes me nervous. But I do know that this project has already been bid out, and so I don't know that there would really be an opportunity to include that at this time. I mean, of course, we could throw it out there and see, but additionally, I did check today with Scott Westover, the engineer at YCUA, to make sure that we are included as an additional insured. And I know that, Trustee Peterson, did you have a comment before I go to Attorney Winters? No. Okay. Attorney Winters, do you have any comments?
No, I do have some issues, and I think I'll probably work those out with Scott or someone else with their YCUA to make sure that everything is, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I am kind of curious as to the price of the sidewalk. How does this normally compare with what we might be doing? Because it struck me as being a pretty high cost. And so I don't know, I understand there's different, supply and labor issues going on, but is this something that is out of the ordinary for this 800 feet of sidewalk? I just don't.
Yeah, there's been full transparency from OHM as well, and the fact that this is a little high for that linear length of sidewalk. Also, full transparency of the 3 bids that were received by Yucca. This particular line item, as it relates to the sidewalk, was not the lowest in its own family, in its own line. Yucca chose the low bid through the contractor, and this is the price that came from that low bid that Yucca selected. So, but it is a little higher than normal.
Well, I just want to make sure that when you say a little higher, how much higher? Because I know we have a lot of other sidewalks that probably need to be filled in, and I just want to make sure that, is it 50% higher or 30%? I just don't know.
I don't know that.
Doug, I want to actually say that I think so when they bid out the whole package, and they selected the firm that they were most comfortable with. They did list out subcontractors as well, but then in their bids, you could actually see like the pieces that were just for the sidewalk. And as Mike said, I think that this one was higher by a couple tens of.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize.
Do you have that number?
I found the email from engineer Elliott Smith from OHM. He stated the prices are roughly 30 to 40% higher than their engineer's estimates.
Mm-hmm.
Therein lies the concern, only because I've seen a lot of these projects over the years, and that one kind of, I understand the township wants to fill this in. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying that's really a board decision. I just that I wanted to bring to the board's attention that I just don't want the board to be taken advantage of either in terms of, because the opportunity presents itself. I just don't know because we weren't involved in this. It's a little high.
And it is like if you did it per square foot, it's like 168 or something per square foot.
Is there a way to, if this vendor isn't chosen, is there a way to go back and analyze another vendor for the price that we're looking for?
So our board could always, take any project that's within the non-motorized plan to go out to bid. Again, I think this one just came about in an unusual manner. It's not that we haven't done something like this in the past with Yucca. That's my understanding anyways. But Mike was approached by Yucca to say, hey, we're disrupting this area anyways. Do you want to, contribute to this sidewalk piece? But again, the cost bit, this time we're not really incurring the 15% engineering fees. But again, if, the cost is more than all the other bidders,
I'll also add to your question, Trustee Newman, that OHM did also reach out to our existing contractor, which is All-Star Excavating, which is doing Huron Street right now. in a request to see if they could provide a proposal or an estimate as it compares to the Yucca bid. And they responded with that they were too busy, they were swamped for the season, which is understandable this late into the year. So we did do a little exploratory work with a trusted contractor we're using now, and it just didn't shake out with them.
So Heather, you're saying, Mother Chair, you're saying that they have started a portion of this work already?
This is a part of the State Street pump project, and it is already, like, the whole
Somewhat in
street's kind of
process.
disrupted. But again, like Attorney Winters said, just because an opportunity presents itself doesn't mean that, we have to
So
accept it or
because
take
it's
it
a
on.
part of state, yeah, I kind of remember now, sitting on a board, I think that was passed not too long ago. And I think they started working on that in the summer, beginning of the summer, I think, maybe,
That's probably about right.
about right? So
And-
it's part of that project.
And just to look at, I'm trying to find our non-motorized, it's hard to see on the screen there, but, this is just one small section of road that, again, our township has many areas that need to be infilled. So it's just a matter of if we're comfortable with this price for the amount of sidewalk that it will do.
I'm just trying to understand. So it sounds like Yucca got the low bid for what they wanted.
Correct.
And then they invited us, which I think is good policy, if you're going to do a project to do that. But I feel a little bit like if we're going to do that, then we should be at the front end of saying, okay, you're taking the low bid, but I don't want somebody to low a bid on the part they want and then high a bid on the part that we'd want. So that seems like maybe this is what you were trying to say, and it's just sinking in, Attorney Winters. But it seems like, how would we have some more control? Because I think the idea of going together is a very good idea. But I think if they're getting what they want at the price they want, if we're going together, we should get what we want at the price we want. It sounds like that didn't happen here, and maybe we've got to just learn from that. But that would be my concern. Because at this point now, we're too far down the line. Season's kicked in. We're not probably going to be able to get something necessarily less. But I guess it just doesn't feel like as cooperative as I'd want it to be if we're going in on this together. And then it is a good thing for the community, so we want to do that for them. But we should get a bigger benefit if you're working together. The cost should be better, I think, and it just doesn't look like it panned out this time.
I guess maybe I should be more blunt. I know I was talking with Clerk Rowe about this at the beginning, and it just didn't feel right because of the cost, and only because of other projects. And I know that's somewhat mitigated by post-COVID world, but like you just said, we don't want to be taken advantage of to our detriment while we're trying to do a benefit for the non-motorized public. And I think Clerk Rowe has already, even Supervisor Stumble, have already identified a number of other neighborhoods who also are in need of sidewalks. They never had sidewalks that are very much in need, and I know you want to stretch your dollar as far as you can go. That was a concern I had. I just did not know what control we had, maybe not on this one.
And just to add to that, I mean, moving forward, if it is something that the whole board is interested in, or even, just an idea of the ARPA committee, we can always look at and bid out a whole package to do multiple sections within the township. So, again, just because, it's before us doesn't mean that we should feel pressured to do it if it's not right with our tax dollars. So, any other comments or questions now that that's it? All right, so I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have a request to approve professional service proposal from Arnett Consulting to Ford, I think that's a typo, to prepare for and apply for grant funding proposed for the Ford Lake Loop project in an amount not to exceed $25,000, budgeted in line item 101-272-801-000, contingent upon approval of the budget amendment. A motion and support would be in order.
Support.
Eldridge and support Swanson. Just one moment, let me get to that page and I'd be happy to talk about this project. The 3 full-time elected officials and our accounting director, Giovanna Neal, we met with Bill and Beth Ernat Consulting. This is the same consulting group that helped us secure that grant for recycling. They're very well-versed at that type of work. And they presented an idea to incorporate several different areas of funding. And in order to sort of like wow and woo those folks that review the applications for grants, they really encouraged us to pick a sort of bigger project, like that would just, make a big difference, make it stand out in comparison to all the other small projects that might be submitted. They did discuss the importance of having a grant application ready to go. Like the day that the grant application's open, we need to do it. And so this particular project would combine TAP funding. MDOT has a $25 million to award through 4 projects throughout the state. There's also funding available through SEMCOG these would also apply for. They also identified the County Road Commission and Park Commissions to be able to tap into some of those DNR funds as well. So the project in whole would connect the 8 parks that loop around Ford Lake community. This would provide an easy walking path for families and individuals to go from one park to another. Really encourages health and wellness within our community, which we've known, especially through COVID, is a priority. And one of the best things that I think is identified through the project is just making a really big connection between the north side and the south side of the lake to really center our focus around, our whole community. So this would be for them to prepare that grant and submit it on our behalf in an amount not to exceed $25,000 based on their hourly rate. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Trustee Swanson.
Sorry, is there a way to include the boardwalk in North Bay as part of this package?
So I know Mike just stepped out, but I know that this is on his radar for an MDNR grant for next year. With that is included the shelters there, which I know is a discussion that we've had about shelters being redone as well. It's the whole thing needs to be redone, and I think that's on his radar for next year. If he comes back in, I'm sure he'd have more.
So not this particular grant, but there's another one we're eyeing for that.
Yes, and then this project would connect that park,
Okay.
but not necessarily redo the boardwalk that you're talking about, I think.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have a request to approve an agreement with the Washtenaw County Road Commission for the installation of 5 speed humps on Wallace Boulevard for $15.50. Budgeted in line item 101-446-982-000, contingent upon a budget amendment. A motion and support would be in order.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Swanson. This is again an agreement for traffic calming devices. The way that this process works, just as a reminder for those in the audience that haven't been here when we've done it before, there's a petition process that begins at the County Road Commission where it is a resident-led, like a resident that lives on this road will go out and gather some petitions. The County Road Commission then does some due diligence to make sure that it would be appropriate for this area. And at that time, the residents then need to circulate to make sure that they have more than 51% of homeowners on that road that would be in favor of supporting this. This particular one had a 76% approval of the homeowners, and therefore we are prepared to move forward with the project if our board so chooses to do so. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Just one, Madam Chair. So the county comes out, no, they get their petitions first?
They get,
I was told that the county comes out and surveys like 7 times.
so there is a initial piece to that petition process, and forgive me, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but
Okay.
they get a small number of homeowners. I want to say it's 5 or 7 homeowners, and they don't even verify them at that point if they're actually the property owners. From then, the road commission comes out, surveys it, makes sure it's not a main thoroughfare, that it would be appropriate. And they have a number of measures that they sort of identify and then scale
I
out.
think I got it. I just talked to Brenda about this before, just last week.
Yeah.
And I guess, because she did mention something about 7 surveys, so I just want to get it right, because someone in West Willows asked me questions. And their process was they called the county first. I don't know if the county ever did anything, but the bottom line is there's a small percentage of residents that would get it started to get surveys, a small survey.
And
Then they submit that to the county,
that's correct.
and then they make a judgment call after they come out and survey that street and see if it's a bad traffic situation, if they're speeding, a couple times. Then if they do, it comes to the township, or who does the petition? Who does that 51%
So
petitions, and who does it go back to? I guess that's
once
the question.
the residents initiate that first piece, they then, submit that back to the county. The county goes out, does their due diligence.
Right.
And at that point, then it goes back to the resident to then collect that 51%. The township does not collect signatures, but in the past for like high rental areas, we have, just,
So the bottom line, that 51% goes back to the county. For, who looks at that 50% signatures?
for the verification,
Verification.
that comes to our assessing department. And so Brian McCleary in the assessing department will then verify that those residents who sign those petitions
That's fine.
are in fact the property owners.
Okay.
And then if, one that we did a couple months back, there was they were so close, like 48%, and a bunch of the homes on that road happened to be rental homes. And so in that situation, because it was for speed humps, and this is something that the township has a line item for, it's different than like a special assessment district, we can then mail out a letter to the rental home property owners to try and get their buy-in. Because of course, reducing speeds is going to make your home values
I
better.
have one more, and I understand,
That's okay.
I have it all, I understand everything, but where do they get those petitions from? My understanding that Washtenaw County gives them a whole package deal with the petitions and everything.
That's correct.
Got it. And I know that we voted on it to approve it, to pay for it.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Just
our
wanna tell them
assessing
again.
department verifies to, just to make sure that our residents are.
Clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. All right, I have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I have budget amendment number 9. You have to bear with me, guys. This is a long-winded one. The majority of this budget amendment is for the employee appreciation funds that we approved at our last board meeting, and at that time, we knew that the budget amendment wasn't ready and we would come back to this board meeting. And again, just want to thank our staff and employees, and whether you've worked here for 30 years or 3 months, we really appreciate all that you do to serve our residents. All right, I have a motion to amend the 2022 budget. I would move to increase the general fund budget by $307,900 to $10,822,495 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. I'd move to increase the fire fund budget by $26,912 to $4,625,045 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the environmental services fund by $2,691 to $3,544,594 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the recreation fund budget by $4,306 to $730,641 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the 14B District Court Department Fund by $13,456 to $809,704 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Building Department Fund budget by $5,114 to $972,122 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Hydro Station Fund budget by $2,261 to $825,235 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Law Enforcement Fund budget by $8,882 to $8,565,595 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Golf Course Fund budget by $2,153 to $827,058 and approve the line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Compost Fund budget by $2,423 to $746,853 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. And move to increase the Motor Pool Fund budget by $150,329 to $379,741 and approve the line item changes outlined. I would so move that budget amendment. Thank you, Debbie. All right, I have a motion. Support. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, authorizations and bids. I would request to award the low bid for 4 new Ford Explorers in the amount of $150,060 to the Feldman Automotive Group, budget in line item 661-268-985-000. And Mike Hoffmeister, we discussed this bid prior to today, and this would replace, it would allow us to have 4 new vehicles. Our ordinance department really needs them. I was actually surprised in having this discussion that we still own and operate cars back from the 80s and 90s. And so as you can imagine, the operating and maintenance costs of those cars, the cost of that incurs a lot. So we really do need to get on a good regimen for providing new vehicles for our staff that aren't so costly in their maintenance. Any comments or questions?
I have a question. What will happen to the old vehicles?
So Trustee Newman, Mike explained to me that some of the older ones, like these newer ones, would go towards sort of the highest need department that drives the most, and then the older vehicles could be shifted over to the recreation department that uses them a little bit less, and then eventually those older vehicles would be auctioned off. Once a year, we usually have an auction that's open to the public. That's the way that the township has to dispose of items.
Okay.
Good question. Any other comments?
So I saw that in the actual bid, there was one vehicle, it looked like maybe up one of our specs or something, it asked for something, and it's going to cost an additional $12,000, but then it looked like the bid is for the 150. So it looks like, we didn't need that, or does anybody know what? So it said it would be 12,000 upcharge.
So in our bid, we asked for 4 base models of the vehicle. And it's my understanding that one of those that they have to offer us is sort of like a more upgraded type of vehicle that would be the additional 12,000. And this was the only bid that came in. We did put this out on BidNet. So typically we get a lot more responders, especially for our automotive things. I think that it's just the time of the season and the year that, the car lots are empty.
So
that's sort of
so does this include the 12,000? Because it didn't look like the money, if we go back to what our resolution is, 150, right? Yeah.
I think that the way that I'm understanding it is that the 12,000 is included, but I see what your thing is, Debbie. Let me just, hold on one moment. That was the way I was reading it, but just one moment, let me do this. That's a great clarification question. When you do the 37.5, it does go up to the 15, or what our budget amendment is listed for. Let me just open the bid really quick if you don't. Lisa, do you know if that bid was in paper or is it on BidNet? I think, did you post it or did I? Okay. I apologize. We're going to just, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to just peek at that really quick so that we have clarification about it. If necessary, we could always move forward with the budget amendment as is and this motion and then just bring back the additional 12 for another budget amendment at the next meeting. But if we can get clarification, at least just for our peace of mind about it tonight. Yes, my understanding from Mike is there's like a dire need for these vehicles, so.
And even the 12 with that, our new policy.
And we did, yes, we still went out to bid, followed that process, and it was unfortunate that we only had the one bidder, but. Okay. Well, while Lisa's looking that up, if everyone's comfortable with it, we can move forward, but we can provide that info before everyone leaves tonight. And then if necessary, bring back a budget amendment if needed. So we have, do we have a motion in support? No, I don't think we did.
I didn't think so.
All right. I messed up.
So moved.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That budget amendment threw me off, guys.
We're waiting on that.
All right, a motion and support would be in order.
Support.
Gotcha.
All right, motion Eldridge, support Newman. Thank you, Lisa. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any board member updates?
Not for me.
All right, I will just briefly give our ARPA committee update then. On behalf of Gloria and Debbie and myself, we recently met and discussed a few things. We are following back up with the new human services and an invitation was extended to Teresa Gelati and that group to come back and just to continue to present to us. We have also are waiting to hear back from the community group that was out doing surveys and hoping that they will, share their insight with us as well from whatever their survey brought forth to them. We did discuss some requests for recreation items that we're hoping to bring back in detail at the next board meeting, as well as a few other agenda items. And we are also planning to follow up with Pastor Kraut and his, just to close the loop there, a letter of response to him and his request, and helping other ways to navigate him into other funds that might be appropriate. For my personal update for the clerk's office, I will just say that we are having our election commission meeting at 9 a.m. on Thursday. Of course, that's subject to the Open Meetings Act. You're welcome to come if you'd like. It'll be here at the township and in our conference room down there. The clerk's office is continuing to receive applications in for the August and November elections. If you have any questions or concerns from residents that you hear, please have them contact our office. We have begun our preliminary accuracy testing where we just make sure that the tabulators are reading the ballots in an appropriate manner, and that always happens before the ballots are issued. It's another security insurance because our elections are safe and secured here at the township. I know that I sent out an update to everyone on the board, but we are doing passports by appointment only, and that seems to be going really well, and that was just for continuity of residents so that we didn't have times where we weren't doing them if our office was busy with an election. This way we can sort of meet both needs, tailor, to busier days as necessary. At our last development team meeting, we did meet with the Washington County Road Commission. I'm sorry, Stan. And that was just an update. They did actually share, Gloria, there was a list of, other possible road improvements or speed reducing things that would be on next year's agenda, but they are aware of that. to do those preliminary things, yep. And so they've been great with that. Of course, Jason presented on the traffic impact study, and they've been great partners, and just, you know, their willingness to review the RFP before we send it out. And that's all I'll do. That's it. Any other board member updates? If not, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, Lisa has the thing? Okay.
Oh.
It looks to me like one of the specs was a rear limited slip axle, and what Feldman had put in their memo is that doesn't come on the base model. It only comes on a more expensive model.
What was their total bid price? Was the 150.06? Okay, perfect.
So we're good with it?
Yes, we're good. Yep. All right, thank you for that clarification. All right, Debbie, I think, made the motion.
I made a motion to adjourn.
Peterson, motion to adjourn. Support Eldridge. Motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Meeting adjourned at 8:38.